I do have a favorite teacher.
One of them was a history teacher.
Mrs. Fitch, 4th grade.
Mrs. Bennett was my 1st grade teacher. She was so creative and just so fun. I wanted to be her.
Norm Puma was my history teacher that put that spark in me to say history was awesome. Norm Puma was the one.
And then in 3rd grade, I had Mrs. Horn, who just drove home the basics. We stood up and we recited, and she made me work, and she didn't let me be lazy.
I can't forget Miss Chinko, my kindergarten teacher. She was the one that put me, put me into shape. Miss Roach, and I can go on and on.
And Mr. Haggerty in 5th grade read novels. I still read those novels to my kids.
She had a wonderful way of teaching in that she told stories. We didn't read the history from the books. She just got up each day and she told a story. And you hardly even had to take notes. If you listened to her story, you understood the battles and whatever it was that she was teaching. And you just remembered it when it came time for the test. You didn't have to study, you just remembered the stories.
I had an English teacher in junior high, same sort of story. She was very strong. She's still teaching.
He was my choir teacher at Sexton High School. His name was Frank McCowan. He's still around. I still see him, actually. We called him Mr. Mac.
It was a crazy moment. We were doing state reports, and I had the state of Delaware, and you had to hold a float while being in complete costume, and I dropped my float, and the Delaware blue hens fell off of my float and rolled away.
He just inspired me to, he was the reason I changed to want to teach music, which I've done for quite a few years. And I still see him when I perform with a local group, and he comes to our concerts, so I still get to see him.
Imagine your entire family working on this float with you for like a week, and the blue chickens bouncing down the hallway. I started to cry, and I was being made fun of by the other 4th graders, and she stopped them and was like, "Don't you dare make fun of her."
He was just so interested in his subject and really inspired us to want to do our very best.
If you worked on your project half as hard as she did, you'd cry too. And I got my blue chickens back and the parade went on, but that moment sticks out forever.
In 8th grade, Mrs. Edgecombe taught me the love of reading, which to this day, I mean, when I tell kids I read, 2 books last week, they're, gosh, how can you read that much? And then Woody Hanson, who was the theater teacher in high school. I mean, he really got the bug for theater under my skin, and so propelled me into the career of theater. And because of the impact he had on me when I had the opportunity to teach, I said maybe I can do something like what he did and inspire some kids and make a difference in some kids' lives.